Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Today we've got quite a long video to make, and we now looking at projections that were made in the past. So we've looked at where we came from and how we got to this point, and now we have to look at what did Eskom tell us, what did the utility tell us they were going to do in 2008, and where are we now in over here somewhere to 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. So in 2022. So Eskom told us in 2008 that they would deliver grootvlei. And they told us they would deliver grootvlei in 2008. But actually, it happened in 2010. So it means that all of this gap here is the potential electricity that was lost. Then, in about 2008, Eskom, the utility, told us that in 2012, they would start bringing Medupi and Kusile and Ingula online. So you've got over here the first point where you've got 2 units of Medupi for 1.5 gigawatts and 1 unit of Ingula pump storage for 388 megawatts. That's 2013. Actually, nothing came online. Then we have a year later, 2014, Medupi, 1 unit comes online, Kusile, another coal power station, 2 units come online, and Ingula, 3 units come online. And what actually happened? Nothing. A year later, 2015, we told that Medupi, another 2 units will come online, Kusile, 1 unit will come online. What actually happened? 1 unit came online. But as we know from past experience, Eskom started finding problems, and we're going to look at a slide which shows what Eskom problems, what they found in 2013. I don't want to get into it now, but even though 1 unit of 800 megawatts came online, because of the problems they've been having, they're only at about 40% efficiency, which means under half of this 800 megawatts, about 350 megawatts is online. And it's not online all the time. That's why we have load shedding. But now that's 2015. 2016, we told that 1 unit of Medupi will come online, 2 units of Kusile will come online. Okay, what actually came online? 1 unit of Medupi, that's from there. Ingula, 3 units came online, and that's pumped storage, and that was in 2016, and Ingula should have been coming online 2014. So Ingula was 2 years late. And then we have the last Kusile. So by 2016, Medupi is complete, and by 2017, Kusile is complete, according to the baseline that was set in 2008. Now, unfortunately, Eskom moved the baseline. So you'll see that they say in 2016, they say we brought the 2 units online as per the baseline, but they don't tell you that the original baseline, when they produced the project in 2008, after spending about 5 years on the drawing board, and they said it's going to cost 79 billion rand, and then when they produce it, it's 250 billion rand. So now if I come to you and I say to you, I'm going to sell you something for 7,000 rand, okay, and when you pay for it, it's 25,000 rand, you're not going to be happy. Suppose I tell you something's going to be $7,000, okay, and I deliver it to you 3 years late, and it's $25,000, you're not going to be happy, okay. So here we are. So now we have actual. So now you can see that theoretically, and this I did in 2019, it's a bit out of date, but you can see as at this date, we expected everything to be complete by 2022. As it is now, we're expecting everything to be complete by 2025. So then what I did is I took this information. This is the baseline, the red line, the blue line, sorry. The blue line is the baseline, and the orange line is the actual. And I said, what's the value of this gap? So let's go and look at how I calculated the value of the gap. Let's go and just look at the value of the gap first over here. The value of the gap is 40 trillion rand. So this is 1,000, that's a million, that's a billion, that's a trillion, 39 million, or 39 trillion rand. And that's the VAT. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I produced this. Now this is conservative, and it's only based on Medupi and Kusile, what was meant to be delivered on time. And there was also meant to be something by now called Coal 3. So Medupi Coal 1, Kusile Coal 2, coal 3, whatever they were going to call it. They haven't given it a name yet. Plus a whole bunch of other stuff was meant to come online. Gas was meant to come online. Renewable energy was meant to come online. 30% of the grid was meant to be in private ownership by 2010. We're now in 2022. That hasn't happened. Let's go and see how I got this number. So if this is conservative and it's 40 trillion, then my budget says that it should actually be 100 trillion. Now you imagine that the economy is 100 trillion rand behind where it should be. 100 trillion rand over the past 10 years is a lot of money. If we go and look, for example, at, let's go and search here, South Africa GDP long term. Okay, let's go say trillion rands. You'll see we get data, trading economics, okay, and we're looking at these numbers. Let's go 10 years. Okay, we've got 10 years. So these are not being very helpful, but here we go. So 301 US dollar billion. Multiply by 16, 5 trillion. Now we go back to this and we see here that we're talking about potentially 10 billion a year loss. Imagine if South Africa's economy was 3 times as big as it is now. And the reason that it's not 3 times bigger is because of late delivery of power stations. And late delivery of power stations means late delivery of water. And late delivery of water means late delivery of food. And late delivery of water and electricity means late delivery of transport, fuel, or no delivery. It means people are stealing railway tracks because they want to eat, but we need the railway tracks to transport goods around. But people are so fixated on what they're going to eat tonight, they're stealing railway tracks, they're stealing infrastructure. And this is because of the failure of our government. And unfortunately, and this is maybe a horrible thing to say, but I'm going to say it in any case, and people can blast me, whatever you want to do, that the South African government has given blacks a bad name because they're doing nepotism and they're employing black people who are incompetent, but who are brothers and sisters and calling in favors. But I mean, I've met very competent, I work with 90% of the people that I work with are coloreds, blacks, Indians, Asians, other people who are formerly disadvantaged, who are all competent, capable, wonderful people. And you look at the government, the South African government, employing imbeciles and, you know, giving blacks a bad name, but blacks are good people. They're competent, they're capable. I was lucky to be on a train from New York to Toronto one year, 1987. And I was sitting in economy next to a black man across the table from him. We started talking, and it turned out that he was a director of Kodak. Kodak was the world's biggest photographic company at the time. They actually invented the digital camera, but then didn't do anything with it. We can talk about that as a different story. And I spoke to him about black people and what happened with me in South Africa and my experience. And he said to me that there are so many competent people, but because of nepotism and because of politics, so many incompetent people are put into power and they give black people a bad name. And we need to fix that. Black people need to fix it. White people need to fix it. We need to put the right people in the job. We need mentoring. We need transfer. We need knowledge transfer. I want to show you the spreadsheet that makes this. So what did I say? I said in 2006, okay, the baseline, we were expecting 800 megawatts. 2007, 800 megawatts, 208. That's the same 800 megawatts, okay? And not additional. And then in 2010, we were expecting another 800 megawatts. Oh, sorry, no, this is the baseline, this is the actual. And then baseline in 2013, we're expecting 2726 megawatts, we're still on 800. 2014, 6134, we start on 800. 2015, 8522, and so on until we get to 2022. We're expecting 11.5 gigawatts, and we've got 9,300. So the graph is not up to date, but you get the idea. Then what I said is that a normal coal power station runs at 92% efficiency. That's what it's meant to be. But for this graph, I said, let's make this 50%. Let's make actual efficiency 50%. And we could change this to 76%, which is what the overall system efficiency should be, according to South Africa. So Eskom long-term has managed to achieve 76%. It's never managed to achieve 92%, not in the last 30 years in any case. Okay, but in a first world country, China, so on, BRICS countries, we would expect the coal power station to be running at 92% efficiency, 92% uptime. And I'm saying, let's assume that it's at 50%. So based on kilowatt hours, we take 800 megawatts, we multiply by 1,000 to get kilowatts, we multiply by efficiency. Okay, in this case, I'm using 92%, which is what we should have. And then I'm multiplying by 24 and 365, which gives us kilowatt hours per annum. Then I'm saying Eskom selling price in 2009 rands, okay, and Eskom actual selling price. And I'm getting potential rands, which I'm saying is that number times 1 rand 2. So Eskom should have made 1,000 million, 6.5 billion rand. And because they were expecting 800 megawatts and at zero, the lost income was 6.5 billion rand. So now, if the cost of unserved energy is 65 rand, which is also conservative, so this means for every kilowatt hour that Eskom make and sell for 1 rand, there's 65 rand of economic benefit in the economy. Some people say it's much higher than that, but I took 65 to be conservative again. And I said, okay, we multiply the baseline by the economic value and we get 419 billion rand. That's lost economic income, lost VAT, and we get the totals. Then we do it the next year, we have the same, the next year the same, the next year the same. Now we get some actuals. So now what I did is I said, okay, we've got 6.5 billion we meant to have. We've got 3.3 coming in. We have lost income of 3.2. We have total lost income of 29 billion. And we add those together and we get actual 200. Then we add everything together, we get 1.8 trillion lost, and we get 244 billion lost VAT. And then we extrapolate that all the way to the end, where we hit in 2022 40 trillion. And if we extrapolate that further to when we expect the power stations to be finished in 2025, or even here 2028, I've got that as expected completion. By then we're at close to 60 trillion rand of lost economic activity and 7.7 trillion rand of lost VAT. And this is conservative. So in actual fact, take the 60 trillion and multiply it by 3, okay? And for the 15 years since Jacob Zuma came into power and since this whole wrecking ball started, South African economy has lost potentially 200 trillion rand. Like I said before, that's not just 10 trillion a year anymore. That's closer to 12 or 13 trillion, which means the South African economy could be 4 times bigger than it is now. And if you want to know where the rest of the economy is, well, we export coal. We export coal to China and Israel and Europe and other parts of the world. So they've got power stations running. Then we export uranium. We export titanium. Southern Africa exports copper. We export diamonds. Then we import them. We don't have enough smelters to take our raw materials, iron ore. We export massive amounts of iron ore. A lot of it goes to Australia, where it gets made into finished products and we get the metal coming back. But on the West Coast, we've got our own foundry, which is meant to be producing rolls of pig iron for local and consumption and export. And then it's meant to be carted around South Africa on railways, but unfortunately the railways have been stolen. One could call the current generation in South Africa the stolen generation. But you can imagine, according to statistics, the ANC government have stolen 1 trillion rand over the past 12 or 13 years. But if they'd done their jobs and they'd employed competent people, the South African economy would have produced another 200 trillion rand, possibly another 20 or 30 trillion rand of VAT, and we would have full employment. And in fact, we would be importing people from all over Africa, maybe the world, because we'd be growing. We'd be one of the fastest growing countries in the world, possibly growing as fast as China at 15 to 20% per annum. And at the moment, our GDP, we've actually been in a recession for the past 12 years because our GDP growth has been less than our population growth. So you can think with inflation, GDP growth is always going to be positive. It's very unusual that GDP growth will be negative, but GDP growth is positive, but if population growth is faster than GDP growth, then GDP per capita is coming down. That's why we feel poorer. That's why it feels like I'm 58 now, it felt like when I was 35, I had a lot more money. I earned a lot less than I do now, but my cost of living was a lot less. And although the government says inflation is 5% per annum, my inflation and maybe your inflation is closer to 15 to 20% per annum. If electricity is going up by 15% and water is going up by 15% and food's going up by 15% and transport going up by 15%, then my inflation is 15%. Everybody's inflation is different. If you're one of 30, 40 billion people in South Africa who don't have income and who get grants and who get a lot of freebies like free education, free housing in many cases, free transport or subsidized transport, free medicine, free health, which taxpayers are paying for. It's all free. Then your inflation is zero. And that's why South Africa's inflation is only 5%. But my inflation, between 15 and 20% for 20 years. And that means that I've had to find a new way of working because I can't increase my pay by 20% per annum. It's impossible. The only way I can do it is to be invested in Bitcoin or something outrageous. And as you've seen over the past few years, we've had something called the South Sea bubble. Go look up the South Sea bubble. I'll write it here for you. Let's go here. The South Sea bubble. Go read up about the South Sea bubble. When a graph goes vertical, you can stay in if you want to, but get out. People got greedy and they invested, and some people have lost a lot of money. Some people have made a lot of money. My long-term projection for Bitcoin, let's go and look at that quickly and then we can end. Let's go to Luno. Okay. And you go and look at here. We're at 338,000 Rand. Okay, and if we go look at the last week, you'll see that we started over here at 355,000, and now we're here. And if we look at month, it's going down. We look at year, it's going down. We look at all time. Look at this. It's trending slowly, slowly, slowly up. And by the time we get here, 35,000 Rand. Then it goes quickly up and down, 2018. And then there's this stratospheric here and stratospheric to the million. Okay, and now we're back down here. And everybody's crying because it came down. But look at the long-term trend. The long-term trend, where is it? For me, I put the long-term trend at $5,000. 16 times 5, 80,000 Rand. I put the price at 80,000 Rand. So I'm expecting the price to come down at least another 50% before it starts stabilizing. And I'm not a market commentator, and I'm not a banker, and I'm not in Bitcoin at the moment because I got out when it started doing this. It's too much for me. I'm not buying and selling. I'm not doing this HODL thing, HODL. Have you heard of that? There's this new thing. There used to be hold, and then they created HODL, and I thought it was a mistake. If you go and look up HODL, holding, Model. Hold on for dear life. I mean, really? Hold on for dear life? Suppose you bought at $1 million. You took your life savings and bought one Bitcoin at 983,000. Okay, and you're holding on for dear life, and it's now 400,000. And you could have sold for 800,000 when it came down 20% and lost 200,000 of your income, but now you've lost 600,000. And how long is it going to take to get back to $1 million? Look, it could happen tomorrow. But remember, my opinion is that the price should be 100,000 Rand now. And yes, Bitcoin will keep going up. It will keep going up. But now it's not going up. It's going down. So this whole thing is what I call the South Sea bubble. And if you can go and look at another website called Kitco, and you can scroll down in Kitco. Here's exchange rates. Let's just go to crypto. Yeah, Bitcoin, dollars. Okay. You can see this is the short term, but we can make the graph and change the graph to, let's say, 3 months. Look at the graph. Started there, now here. So over 3 months, it looks really terrible. Over 6 months, looks really terrible. Year to date, looks really terrible. 1 year, wow, it started there, 35,000, and now it's 20,000. So in a year, it came down from 35 to 20, 15,000 over 35. How much is that? Half. But it went from 30,000 to 65,000. So if you bought here and you sold there, you doubled your money. Of course, if you bought when it was 1,000 Rand, which was say $100, and you sold when it was 70,000, from 100 to 70,000 is a massive increase. But if you bought over here at 51 and then it went to 70 and you're holding on for dear life and it's now here, maybe you should have sold when it got here at the same price you paid and not hold for dear life. I fundamentally disagree with that. And then let's just look at all. Okay, so you can see that where we are. It's got this funny graph. I don't know how to change it. I'm not quite sure about how the graph works, but you can see that it started down here and it went up and now it's coming down. But the long-term trend is this curve here. And if I take the long-term trend here, you can see I'm at that 175,000. That's what I believe the price should be. That's my own opinion. It's not financial advice. I wonder if we can find out one more thing here. Saltec share price. If we've got a Saltec share price history graph. Okay, it's not right now, but if we can find it, share price history. Okay, we'd have to get it for the whole long term, but okay, it's only showing 5 years. But Saltec was a company that went from like 2 Rand a share to 75 Rand a share. And I bought it when it was 40 Rand a share. Went to 75 Rand a share. And I thought, wow, it's great. And then it came down to 60 and then I sold. So I made a little bit. I'm not a big investor, maybe 5,000 Rand, maybe made 2,000 Rand. But the share price dropped out of existence. And if you're holding for dear life and you bought at 40 and you could have sold at 60 after the share price dropped 20%, then you made some money. But if you held it till now, you lost your whole investment. I know that there's this thing about you want to save money, you want to save tax and so on, because if you buy and sell, you can be seen to be a trader. But if you buy for the long term and the share price goes up, and then it drops 20% and then you sell, and then you wait for it to stabilize for a year or two, and then you buy again, you can't be seen to be a trader. It's not like you're doing hourly trades or daily trades or weekly trades. You're not doing that. You're just protecting your investment. And if you buy at 40 and it drops to 20 and you sell and you lose that bit in the middle, then okay, you lost a little bit. You lost 50% of your investment. You didn't wait until the bottom dropped out and lost everything. And everybody's trying to be like Warren Buffett, which is nice. But Warren Buffett is a different kind of investor because Warren Buffett is buying the whole company. Just trying to go back there. Present. Let's go there. Let's go back to here. So Warren Buffett is buying the whole company. He's got control over the entire company. So he's in for the long term. You can't compare yourself, you buying 1,000,000% of a company. You're taking 1,000 Rand or $1,000 and you're buying Apple. You've got no control. But if Warren Buffett buys into Apple or whatever, he will buy a controlling stake. That's who he is. And he controls what they do. And he gets the financials at 8 o'clock every morning. And he looks at them and he's got a team of people that you don't even know about. He's probably got 10,000 people working for him, looking specifically at how the company is doing that he's invested in, where are they going, giving him feedback. You know, maybe he lives in his little house in Omaha and he's got his persona and he's a long-term investor, but he's investing in a different kind of way. When he bought Berkshire Hathaway, which was a textile factory, and that started him off, he started off saying, I'm buying Berkshire Hathaway and I'm going to be a long-term investor. I'm going to hold it forever. But he hasn't. Berkshire Hathaway is not the same textile company that he bought 50 years ago. And all the other thousands of companies that he's bought along the way are not the same companies anymore, because he makes sure that they have the best directors, the best people, the best resources, the best pay. And by doing that, he gets the reward. It's like Christo Wiese when he had Whitey Basson working for him. I'll end with this. Christo Wiese employed this guy, Whitey Basson, and let's go to here. Christo Wiese employed Whitey Basson, and there was a period when Whitey Basson made like R500 million bonus. And people said to Christo, what's going on? How can you pay the CEO of ShopRite, etc., a R500 million bonus? And Christo said, well, you know, he made me 5 billion this year and I gave him a bonus. So that's because Christo Wiese owned the whole company, or the majority shareholding, and his share value went up. And he personally maybe sold 1 billion of shares and gave half to Whitey. And yes, of course, he made mistakes, because you know about Steinhoff. But everybody makes mistakes, even geniuses, or maybe especially geniuses, because the thing about people like Christo and me and other people is we're always looking at possibilities, always starting startups, always trying new things, always prepared to take risks and see where we go. So my cat's just saying hello, Joey, and it's a good time to end. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's show, and I hope you understand that if you employ, if you have nepotism, look, you can have nepotism because you employ your family. I mean, look at the Queen of England. Her family's been ruling for 1,000 years. So there's nothing wrong with families ruling if they're competent. I mean, the Queen of England and the royal family, they send their kids to the best schools. They send them to the best universities. They also go to the military and get a military education, which means they get nice rank and beautiful uniforms. You know, so they can be commanders and generals, admirals, and so on. We can admire them. So they get the best possible education, and therefore they geared and brought up to be in that position, able to do those things. Maybe you and I didn't have that kind of education, but some people did. I know someone who's a taxi driver. He owns a taxi. He owns 120 taxis. He started off as a taxi driver. And he sent his kids to Bishops, to the top school. And that means that those kids got a fantastic education and they're all doing incredibly well. One of them works for him and helps him in his business. So you see, you have these opportunities. And if you look at the long term, then you can do incredible things. Thank you and bless you and good night.